Thank you, everybody. Welcome. No, I am the last talk of the day before we wrap up. And I'll probably do a couple annoying things today. One, yes, I am passionate about vulnerability management. You heard that yesterday already. Two, I know the guy running the camera is probably going to hate me because I'm going to be like Sean and be moving on the stage. So he's got to keep tracking me the entire time. But regardless, we're here to talk about vulnerability management and what do we need to do to really modernize our VM programs. Now, couple questions for you out here before we're starting all this. Who is actively engaged in a vulnerability management program, like vulnerability manager, analyst, et cetera? All right, I got a few hands up here. Are you people all in my class this week? No? Oh, well, I see a couple hands are up here. Okay, well, that's good. Now, question for the rest of you in the room. Are you involved with the IT operations, cloud operations inside your organization? I would expect most of us probably are. Do you feel that you're involved with vulnerability management at all? Show of hands, do you think you're involved in vulnerability management in your current role or not? Can I ask why those who are in operations don't feel you're involved with vulnerability management? Because aren't you our remediation partners? Don't we have to come and talk to you to get work done, get things fixed? Or as we see sometimes in organizations, we just throw the reports at you and say, hey, figure it out. I would expect most of us are involved with vulnerability management. Anyways, who am I? What's going on here? I've been with SANS for a very long time. I started way back in the mentor program community, all of that. Taught a wide variety of classes with SANS as well, be it the pen test, incident response, forensics, all kinds of cool things. But for the past 3 or 4 years, actually more than 4 years now, I've been focusing on the Vulnerability Management Client Leadership 516. I'm the co-author of that, and I'm a little biased. Hey, let's stay and do my own stuff. So really pushing on that. That's what I've been doing around with SANS for a while. Also involved with SANS Technology Institute, for those who may have heard of the university. Anybody show of hands? Okay, put up your left hand instead. Let's hear. You got to get the exercise. We're in here. Come on. If you folks heard of the SANS Technology Institute, where we did grant the degrees, bachelor's, master's. I'm involved with them. I'm on the faculty research committee as opposed to the facility research committee, helping oversee stuff with the students. They're actually writing their white papers, et cetera. Also an adjunct professor there now, actually tormenting the students, and I'll be doing that this Friday for a 24-hour session they have to worry about. So I create whatever the situation is, they have to figure it out and write a report to the C-suite. So having fun with the leadership aspects. So that's what I do with SANS Technology Institute. Also have my own consulting company. And on top of all of that, just because I want some fun, I actually have a day job. I work for the federal government right now, working on a project for consolidating way too many military networks that are classified, trying to consolidate and collapse them down and maybe look at cloud services. Who knew? That's what I do in my day job. I also have 3 kids at home that I like to torment and probably have done an effective job because my oldest is in first-year university now doing neuroscience. So I'm sure at some point I will be the case study for her class in psychology. But that's who I am, but that's not why you're here to hear. Figure out what's going on, doesn't matter. What are we going to talk about today? Vulnerability management. Surprise. You might have got that from the title. What was vulnerability management? That's first place we're going to start with things. What was vulnerability management? What did we used to have to worry about? And then why is vulnerability management different today? What's the challenges for us? We're also going to talk about what's needed to succeed, and we'll just wrap a few things up. So vulnerability management, the good old days. What did we used to have to do then? We had a scanner. We deployed the scanner in the network. Hey, it found all the fun problems, gave us the long list, 65,535. Come on, throwing little technical things into the leadership presentation. Come on. Yes, we got the vulnerabilities. We found the problems. We got them patched. It was done. Wasn't life easy back then? I'm seeing none of the people that put their hands up that are involved in vulnerability management thinking that was easy. It wasn't. Vulnerability management's been around for how long? When was our first scanners launched? Anyone have a good guess? Anyone? What year? How far back can you go? It involves my gray hair. You're going back into the 90s. earlier if you want, depends what you class as a first scanner. We've had vulnerability scanners around for forever. We've also had way too many vulnerabilities that don't get remediated inside our environment for too long. We have massive backlogs, and that we had in the enterprise environment, our classic enterprise. Throw us in the cloud. Let's lift and shift it all out there, right? Yes, take your ugly and make it publicly accessible. It's a great idea. It is. Yeah, the challenges that we have. Back then as well, it used to be easy for us. Often you try and go with a little bit of knowledge, or you'd need a little bit of knowledge, say, about operating systems. Maybe you were a sysadmin or at least had some training on it. Then what we could go through, we could work at VM, because that's often what we were checking, the operating systems and software installed, but we didn't care about the applications necessarily that we were developing, anything like that. Those were the good old days. And we still couldn't do a good job at it. We're a little bit more challenging now in our environments, aren't we? Just a smidge? What's the problem out there? For starters, we have been really bad at keeping pace with our program and how our organization is evolving. We're moving way faster in things like cloud services than what we are doing with our processes. Examples, when I was first started, launched my first vulnerability scanner in the organization, we were happy as clams that our patch cycle was about 40 days, that we could get it fully tested, everything out there on the door. How many in the room are happy with a 40-day patch cycle right now? Okay, no hands up. How many people have a greater than 40-day patch cycle in the organization? Okay, you don't need to raise the hands there, but yeah. We're set up to fail from the start with what's going on inside vulnerability management because we haven't been adopting our processes. One thing, it is. We haven't evolved. We haven't kept pace with what's happening. So it makes it challenging for us to try and be effective doing vulnerability management. Now, before I carry on, this is really cool that we're doing with Ashton here and having the live stuff from a presenter. It's been cool sitting where you have been all week or the past 2 days watching this. As a presenter, it's like what you're saying and trying it there. It's like, this is amazing. These are phenomenal. I thank everyone here. How about we give her a round of applause, folks? I think these have been great. So thank you. No, actually, thank you. Here I am looking at her slide. But it is, first thing that we have, the challenges inside it. We haven't been updating our processes. And I'm like Sean up here, hearing the creak and groan on the stage. Second thing, we've got way too many things going on inside the environment. Our infrastructure, platform, software as a services, the data as a service, security as a service, everything is a service out there. And they're all different. The functionality is there, the tooling we need. How the heck do I make this work? Infrastructure, probably the closest thing as we know to the enterprise. I can probably use my tooling that I have, processes that probably work. May not be the best, but we can do it. But go into platform, software as a service. Shared responsibility model comes into play. Dang it. Can I even scan software as a service? Got some heads nodding. Depends. What's in my CSA? Cloud Service Agreement. Can I even scan it? Am I sending up separate instances? And what the heck's the application I'm looking at? I need a specific tool maybe. But it's the challenges we have. Example, last week, some of my team actually went out and attended an AWS seminar that was on quantum computing. So AWS's quantum computing as a service availability. Now, I don't know about you, but I haven't heard of many organizations that can figure out how to deal with the quantum computing stuff from a vulnerability management perspective, be it the configurations and the people that have the skill set for it. Cool things, but the rapid change that's happening is having a huge impact on vulnerability management. Now, we also have that little functions and serverless stuff. We've been trying for years to avoid talking to developers. Sorry, at least I have. I apologize for developers that may be in the room. We don't want to talk to developers, they're coders. They want to hide and do their coding, like we heard in the last talk. But yeah, we got to talk to them. Why? Because we got to worry about code management and scanning. More challenges we have, hadn't been classically paying attention to. But that's not all. More reasons to have to talk to developers and understand code. The infrastructure is code. We've heard about this already. Yesterday, as an example, on the virtual track, we had Adam who was talking to us about what we have to worry about for checking the configurations, et cetera, related to infrastructure as code. It was on the virtual track yesterday afternoon. But I don't care what it is. Inside your organization, we need to understand, because we're checking for the configuration settings, are we actually doing coding mistakes inside there? I do actually have to understand code. But we're not today. Our teams don't have the skills, and we'll talk more about this coming up. Containers. Everybody running containers? Got containers somewhere? Everything's containerized? Yeah, we are doing that. There are challenges with that. Now, containers, as we know, were originally supposed to be short-lived and immutable, right? I love the laughter in the room at that. Immutable, maybe we still have short-lived. Yeah, let's not go down that road yet. We'll come back to it. But it completely changes how we should be taking a look at vulnerabilities. How are we tooled for this? How are we checking them? What are we doing? Back to that process issue. Isn't that a pain? Now, I don't know about you, but this has been bringing me down a little bit here. Telling you, airing all the dirty laundry we all have to deal with here. Let's maybe see what we can do with some of the better aspects in regards to this. So what do we need to worry about for being successful? What do we need to set ourselves up to do this? Let's actually look at how we have to adjust our programs. First thing, I apologize, those in the room, yeah, we're in technology. Those of us in security, we are horrible at communications. By and large, we are very bad talking to other people. We want to hide, kind of like the developers I was talking about. We don't do good communications. But I've got to talk to people. When I was able to understand being as a system administrator, be it Linux, Windows, didn't matter in the good old days, I could probably understand enough, pass the information out, get the work done. How many services are currently offered on Azure, Amazon, GCP? Anyone have a rough guess? Well, here's a question. John, who just had his plaque for certified instructor, how many services on Amazon launched today that are available for customers? Ballpark guess. 4? I do like the 4. That would be nice, eh? We can pick on Eric too, since he's come back in from his workshop. How many would you say are on Google? 350. So we had 400 and 350. If I'm in a multi-cloud environment using both AWS and GCP, isn't that nice ability to click and launch a service that all of our users want to have and they launch stuff? I have the possibility I have to understand 750 things. I'm sorry, I've got to talk to people that actually know what's going on and are the experts, or at least have more knowledge than I, just to start with. There's no way I can keep in this small little brain of mine information in regards to 700 services. And how can I actually protect my network for them, or understand them so I can protect the network? Let alone communication in regards to how are we actually presenting information to the end consumers, our partners. Let's talk reports and metrics. Who here has received one of those nice detailed reports from the vulnerability management team that's like 45 pages long with all kinds of details on it? I see hands up. Is it helpful to get 45 pages about stuff and they say, hey, do something with this? I got head shaking, got a couple people nodding their head over here. It does depend what you need to do with the information. I would agree in some cases that 45-page report is great. Probably not for most of our partners. We need to get better at tailoring our reports and our metrics to the individual end consumer. As an example, a metric. Looking at, let's pick on one, a churn rate. Churn rate of vulnerabilities. How fast are they coming in compared to how fast I'm closing them out? A useful metric. But for me as the system administrator for Windows, Do I care about the organizational churn metric? Is that overly helpful to me? Probably not. I don't care about what the churn is of the 65,000 vulnerabilities that are out there. If I have the churn, though, related to what is specific to my window applications and servers, maybe that's a little more helpful. As the business owner, definitely is. Are we treading water? Are we under? Not. Are we drowning with the problems? Help identify. So tailoring our metrics and our communications, we're a little bad at. We need to get better at focusing, and especially as we're having these more advanced services coming in here, because we don't know all the information. We need to talk with those teams, let alone how do you report it to the leadership? Hopefully our reports do not look like the meme that's on the screen here. Yeah, it's the risk. Yeah, but we need to be able to communicate with the leadership team effectively. Tailoring the metrics down, the reporting information, how do we simplify it? And I apologize to those in the leadership positions, senior level, C-suite people that may be in the room. We've got to break out the Crayolas because we've got to simplify it. Color matters. It just how it seems to work. The higher up in the organization, the prettier the picture needs to be. But communication is a huge problem for us. Yes. Why do you think we have that little cloud wall out there with all the markers on it? Hey, we get the color in practice. No, Laura actually did that. But still, we need to get so much better at how we communicate with the individual partners that we have. Now, I mentioned those funny little process things. We aren't tooled correctly for it inside the organization. Why? Because our vulnerability management, we haven't gone back and looked at things holistically. And does this still make sense? We've been putting the Band-Aids on, like what happens in a lot of parts of our organization. So we need to actually go back and take a look at the processes. Does it make sense to do it like this? And we aren't. We have to go back and take a look at this. If you're just launching and going into cloud services, make it part of picking your cloud adoption, migration strategy, whatever. Making sure it's identified and these are being created and optimized for the cloud services. We'll talk more about this coming up again, but it's some of the challenges that we have and what we need to do. Now, I mentioned those pesky developers again, more than once. We do have to have some general understanding of coding. I'm not saying we need to be a developer that has been doing 20 years of service inside and doing development, service creation, et cetera, in order to be able to do vulnerability management. But there are a lot of people inside vulnerability management that we can't even spell CI/CD. You can tell it's an afternoon joke. Oh my goodness, horribles. But it is, it's serious. We don't have the skills and knowledge inside our team to help manage the processes that we are leveraging, managing the technology and tools that are being used inside the organization. So we hope we are catching it. We hope that we're actually able to solve the problem, but we can't validate it. I can't do checking. I can't, if I don't understand coding as an example, if I've got a static analysis tool going on, I send stuff to the developers, it comes back as a false positive. I have no clue. Yes, we have to trust our partners, but we should be able to do a little bit of work in here and well get a general understanding, because everything is over there as code. It's scripted. It's not necessarily like everyone's writing C++, C#, whatever, but we are in the formats with our configuration files, etc. We need to get a general understanding about what's going on. But it doesn't mean, as I said, I actually have to understand how developers think. I really don't. But we do need to be able to handle development and understand what is going on. I know for myself, I haven't done major coding at all in my career. Took it in university, part of my degree, great, lovely, marvelous. Yeah, I code like probably a lot of people in the room. Google, how do I do something? Find a code snippet. Now you throw it into ChatGPT and get a code chunk coming out at you. I'm dangerous when I code. If we don't understand it, how can we help ensure that we are actually able to protect the organization? Now, cloud has brought some really good services to the table for us. We need to adopt and bring in mainstream inside our programs automation. There are tons of things we can do to help us improve the program. Get rid of those unfulfilling tasks that we end up having to do on our jobs every day. I remember for the longest time in my organization, well, where I was working at the time, we were creating metrics manually. So it was that 15 to 25 minutes every morning, someone would scrape the data into the spreadsheet. Now, I don't know about you, not job satisfying. But we need to adopt automation to do simple things like that, let alone some of the more complex tasks. We can check, as I'm sure a lot of you have seen, there's tons of architecture patterns out there for stuff helping us in vulnerability management. I upload an image into the environment. I can have it trigger off an SNS message, kicking off the serverless function to actually get the scanning done and generate the report out the door for me before it hits production, before it's even authorized to be an image inside there. We can do this as opposed to the classic vulnerability management. Let's put it in production, and when the scanner hits it, let's be a little more proactive. But automation is huge, can really help us deal with several problems. One, job satisfaction for our team, quite frankly. Also going to help us deal with the resource crunch. Because I think most of us in the room, regardless if you're in VM or not, does anybody here, question for everybody again, feel free to put up whichever arm you want to get the exercise. Who here in the room actually has too many people on their security team and they're bored? I love the laughter. We don't. We're short-staffed. We have problems. We have a hard enough time getting people to fill the seats that we have and the skills that we need. I can't afford to get people annoyed and walking out the door. So let's actually get the automation and actually, ultimately, I want them to be doing the work that the higher level functions that I'm actually paying them for, instead of let's scrape data and stick it in a spreadsheet. And I know way too many organizations that are still doing spreadsheets for all kinds of stuff, including metric creation. Our cloud services, as we know, bring a bunch to the table for us, as I mentioned. I can actually I can get a whole lot better than what we have done with asset inventory with cloud services. People agree with that statement? Better asset inventory in the cloud than what we have in our classic network? Because it's automatically collecting the data for us. Can I get access to it? Yes. Can I actually see the information and have it correlated? Start doing service interdependency information. Oh my goodness. All kinds of cool things to help us out. We know this. The challenge is we're not doing this today. So we've heard a lot of really cool things that are in and available to us to help do a lot of cloud management capabilities and securing, but we're not doing the basic easy things to start with. So those really cool, like I'd love to bring in AI and be doing some of the self-defending network stuff like this, but we're not doing the basic hygiene. How can I secure a network and have, it's going to come back and tell me, yeah, you have a default password configured here. I've got a bad configuration file. Oh, wait, you have a patch that you haven't put in for 3 years. Let's get rid of the easy stuff first that we know we need to be doing before we can even start adopting some of these more complex capabilities that the cloud is offering to us to really push the program forward. Now, we also need people to understand cloud operations. As I said before, we have been doing work related to, previously we would understand the systems we're running in, but a lot of organizations, we do not have the skill set needed related to vulnerability management. Ties back to our communication. I need to talk to other people to get knowledge, or I at least need to have it available in the environment on my team or somewhere that I'm able to draw on. Because without it, we're really flying in the dark. And a lot of this is based on conversations and work that I do, that all of these points are still a challenge for us. You'd think it would be easy, but it's not. There are still organizations that are hiring for the first time their vulnerability management manager, and they're setting up a formal program. Yes, we have very mature organizations out there as well. There are some phenomenal organizations in how they run vulnerability management, but that is the niche. We need to get better at understanding the environments we're trying to protect, or there's not going to be much point. Now, those funny things, we want people that have cloud operational experience. Great, fine, yeah, lovely. I want people that are developers. Where do you find them? Well, first of all, I have several points on here, but let's at least start by keeping the people that understand vulnerability management as part of our teams. I want to keep the people I've got happy to start with. We've got to look after them. Otherwise, I'm going to have yet another empty chair. And I don't want to have that. So we need to look after the people we have. Otherwise, we just end up losing them. Nobody has extra people lying around. We're all short-staffed. It is easy for people to move on if they choose to do so. We're going to need to train for our teams and our skills. We have to do this. As the leaders in the program, we have to look after and make sure the skills are there. There's multiple ways we can get it. Training is one of them, keeping the people up to date, let them reskill. We also look for evangelists inside the operations team, is what I term them, evangelists. But the people that actually let's call it, get along better with, and actually have the security bend, mindset, and understand and like to work with us. Let's see what we can do to continue to have that advocate available for us. And even better, if we can get some of their time. Can I get agreement from the leadership team that I can get 25% of their time to help out on VM? But at least then I'm going to have the knowledge and skills and experience available to me that I can tap into as part of the team to get the understandings. We're also going to need to look, as we know as managers, for those that are, we've got a wide variety of things we have to do it. Different ways, mindsets of bringing people on board. I have challenges right now trying to bring the right mix of people into the organization. I can get a whole bunch of people that are interested, fresh, like brand new to cyber, et cetera. I can get people that are that. But on my team, I don't need everybody that is brand new to cyber. I need the mix of junior, intermediate, and senior level people to handle the problems that come into the environment. That's why we're not getting the right mix of people. But the challenge with that is, how do I get people there? I'm going to actually have to provide opportunities for my team, train, reskill, mentor. It's going to take more work for us, but we need to be able to get our team there. Because I just can't go out and hire a whole bunch of senior people. They just don't exist. Working in government, it's even worse. Salaries in government are not great. Let's just say that. But we do need to be, well, salaries are not as good as private industry, let's phrase it that way. But we do need to look at non-traditional ways. How can we address the skill gap and be creative around it? That's how we're going to be able to fill the positions that we have, looking for the skill sets that we need, because we just can't get the people, enough people to help us out here. So wrapping up here, we've got to keep pace. We need, as security leaders, to understand the program has to continue to evolve. We have to make sure that we're keeping pace with how the business is doing work. Because otherwise we're going to be scanning with a vulnerability scanner and a container. That might not be effective. Let's actually scan the image itself, manage the inventory, and know how many times those are being used. I don't need to stick an agent everywhere. It's going to chew my licenses. Let's actually adopt the program to use processes and tooling and methodologies that make sense. Some of these we are doing today, and some of the organizations guaranteed in here have adopted some of the processes, but we're not doing a great job. We have to get better at this, or we will never get rid of that 2 million vulnerability backlog. Best I've had in one of my classes is over 5 million vulnerabilities in their backlog. Large organization, but how do we chew through that? It's insane. How do you report that level of risk? We need the skills, knowledge to get there as well. And we've got to take care of our team. We really are only as good as the people that we have on the team. Because I don't know about you, I cannot do everything in my VM program without my team. Just doesn't work. There's way too many tasks that have to happen as a vulnerability leader that I just cannot do by myself. We need the team support there. And we've got to work with everybody, keeping the communications open. Get those evangelists, talking with the other parts of the organization, communicating and passing reports in an effective method, getting the metrics that are tailored to the individuals, the business owners, the system administrators, so it's actually useful information going to them. We need to get better at the communications and working with our partners. Now here, shameless plug, vulnerability management leadership course, 516. Just if you want, there gives some information in regards to that. Just when it's upcoming next, it's running here this week. We do have it coming up at CDI in December. I'm also teaching Cloud Defender in January. So thank you very much for the time. And are there any questions?